reverse Conway maneuver. Shipping your org structure is one way to view it, but shipping your culture is part of this too. We talk about unhealthy teams shipping unhealthy products, healthy teams shipping healthy products. So
we're gonna speak at the event together tomorrow, right? At ACE Bangalore. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's the first time I've been to a meetup myself here in India. I've been during COVID. I did do an online presentation. So yeah, really excited to see what it's like here tomorrow. I think it'll be exciting.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was such a long day. It was saying 10 to 4 p.m.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Including lunch. That's incredible.
I heard from the Tamanna, committee manager, and she said that so usually there is an event in every month, but this time is a big event.
Big event?
Yeah,
okay.
in the year.
No pressure.
Yes. And many people come to the event, right? And more than 300
have signed up, right?
Including virtual.
I mean, if that's the turnout tomorrow, that will probably be the biggest ACE event I've ever been to. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So actually, I have butterfly in my stomach. Yeah. But I'm excited as well. Yeah. And tomorrow, what do you talk about?
So I'm doing a presentation called A Retro on Agile. I originally did this talk in Japan at Dev Summit in Japanese. So tomorrow will be an English version, a little bit extra content as well. And it's really about how we ran a campaign around a retro on Agile. Really, the idea was taking one of Agile ceremonies of running a retro to look for continuous ways of improving how we work. We thought, let's do that, see what the community is saying they like about Agile, what they wish it would change, ideas for improvement, as a background also to help us understand how we improved our products that we have developed in Jira Software to help customers be more successful with Agile.
So you've been in a team of Jira Software, right?
Yes.
So I just wondered how Jira Software is evolved from the first phase of the product.
Yeah, so I mean, Jira was originally built as a issue tracker, right? Bug tracking being the main
kind of
application. Yeah, battled with Bugzilla, fog buzz, those sort of things, that just creating issues and working through bugs. But as we know, earlier on, software development has found it's most effective when you take on some of the principles of Agile, as opposed to earlier on, when Jira first came out, there was still a lot of waterfall project management philosophies around. That's all we had, right? So, but what we have obviously learned is that doesn't work for complex situations, especially with software. And so, Agile came about, the Scrum methodology popularizing it. And so we acquired a plugin that was actually built on the Atlassian marketplace for Jira, and which was called Greenhopper, and then we rebranded that to Jira Agile. That's when I joined the company about 10 years ago, and so I ran the product through Jira Agile. We made it into Jira Software, and then we also embarked on a cloud native, because we used to write the same code to both our online, we used to call it on demand, but to both our cloud and server versions, they used to be exactly the same code. We decided to go cloud native. So I worked through all that. As we went cloud native, we then found that customers need help moving to cloud. So the next 5 years, I started working on cloud migrations. And so Jira has really come from this issue tracker. We have added some add-ons. Jira Agile is the one that I've been working on, again, the topic of my talk tomorrow. We also had Jira Service Desk, which was also a plugin at the time, and so we evolved them to become more mature products in Jira Software, which was really the Jira Issue Tracker and Jira Agile combined, and then also the Jira Issue Tracker and Jira Service Desk plugin combined to make Jira Service Desk, and now known as Jira Service Management.
Jira Service Management as a native features.
Yes, so a lot of the talk I'm giving tomorrow is about Agile teamwork, really talking about how teams have come to like the customization of Jira, use the Agile principles, connect it to the dev tools, or use those efficiencies you get when you run your projects in an Agile way and have the connectivity to the developer tools. But also a lot of the feedback we got about from the retro of Agile was people thinking it's just about efficiency and just being fast, or story point velocity, when really we need to get back to being customer centric and really aiming to deliver something customers are going to really love. And so that's sort of the thing we need to always, I guess, remind ourselves with. When using Jira, yes, it's an issue tracker, but really it's there to help you, try and find your best way of working, and hopefully that results in the best kind of software that you can develop.
So you've struggled with many difficulties during the evolution of Jira Software and Jira products, right?
Yeah, there's been many changes. As we're getting back to your question there around, we've been focusing a lot on the team and the customization around that. I think what we're now looking at is how does that work at larger scale, and that sort of goes back to the talk I did in Tokyo around the blueprint as to how do we. Do we consolidate and put all the teams together, or do we sort of split them out, or is it a combination? And really that org structure and architecture matters. We talk about. Are you familiar with Conway's law?
Yeah, Conway's law. Yeah, it's a theory about the architecture of the communication in the organization relates to the architecture of the software development.
Correct. Yeah. So that has a very big impact on performance of a team. And so, we often get asked, should we consolidate or federate? It's not that simple. It's not that kind of question. It's really having to, and you probably know this as a solution partner, understand the business, how they work, how they're configured, assess the different trade-offs, and then really, set up that kind of governance and structure so that the team is actually optimized for what it's doing. An example from that, we used to, Jira Software at the beginning has its roots from Jira Agile and Greenhopper. We had a plan mode and a work mode and then a reporting mode. So they were the key three things that you'd go into Jira Agile and Greenhopper. And we felt that the end-to-end cycle is more about, planning. You tend to use the backlog for that. Then actually running your software development on a board, either in a Scrum fashion or a Kanban fashion. And iterating that shippable increments, so releases. So we evolved it from this like plan, work, and reporting structure into more or less plan, work, release, and then sort of monitor all with the reports. And so we did have our team set up to really help ship that kind of feature by structuring our teams in that way.
During the evolution, structure of team is changed during the transformation of the Jira Software?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So that's interesting, right? Because Conway's law is always seen as like, people say, oh, we're shipping our structure as a bit of a defeatist comment around, or people getting frustrated, like, we're not doing the right thing. But if you think about it, actually, I think in the industry they call it the reverse Conway maneuver. You can actually use it to influence the development patterns and therefore the architecture that you'll ship. So yes, we ship our org structure. Well, let's deal with that, and take that into our control and modify how our teams, like you said, the right word there, the topology, actually, better aligned to the kind of value and that you're building.
Great, interesting. I'm looking forward to your presentation tomorrow.
What's your talk going to be on?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the competencies. Actually, I've been trained for many people internally to certificate SCP. I felt gaps between knowledge of the certifications and the real-world competencies for implementing Jira Software and Conference as well. So, for example, as a professionals, we are required to organize information correctly and objectively, grab the essential requirements from the customers, and we need to know about the best architecture of the Atlassian solutions. I don't talk about that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for keeping the bar high. I think it really is the understanding of what the customer is doing, and that needs that kind of expertise and interpretation to make sure the architecture is right. So huge thanks for helping a lot of our customers.
In the topics of my presentation, I have a part of leadership as a competency in Atlassian professionals. So I'd like to know about what do you think about leadership, and you have many teams, right?
Yeah, I mean, I now work more as what we call an individual contributor product manager, right? So, like when I started and previously I'd be managing a team of product managers. That sort of has grown to there's lots of product managers at Atlassian now. And so my leadership style tends to be less about leveraging authority, right? So direct reports and just that sort of thing. I prefer to work a leadership style that is I guess more about trying to get the customer, trying to build customer centricity and really having us, I guess, leading from that as the reason and what the teams are inspired to do. And because I feel that if the more you can directly connect with customers, the better. And sometimes I feel that, and this is more for my situation, my leadership style. If I have reports that connection goes through the reporting line to the customer rather than I want people to really own the connection directly with the customer, and we have a value at Atlassian called be the change you seek, and I really want them to have that direct connection. I don't want to get in the middle of that.
It's kind of coordination between customers and the team.
Yeah, probably less coordination. I mean, for me, that would probably be me getting in the middle of trying to coordinate things. I work more on developing like frameworks, the right goals, the right jobs to be done, and helping prioritize at that sort of macro level, and then helping the teams then work on I guess we call it PM craft, around making sure they're understanding the problem, breaking it down, and actually you're getting to that root need that the customer needs to be more successful. So yeah, I guess I do work a lot across a lot of teams, probably more very flexibly. I could be working with one team one day and another day because I can move quite across a lot of different teams in the organization. I don't work through, again, reporting lines, so if I need to speak to someone, I just speak to them. I guess help influence, lead teams through more an understanding of the customer.
Great. I work at a small company. I have one team and I lead a team. And even one team, I have many difficulties through the development.
Right.
So I can't imagine managing or leading the many teams. First of all, what is your difficulties in your leading?
I think the difficulties can be sometimes people don't know, I guess, do they intrinsically believe in the mission they're on? And that changes over time, sometimes, and we need to adjust that. I think the difficulty can be sometimes, it still is that distance to the customer. So I can, sometimes I go to teams and they don't feel that they're, particularly our platform teams, they always feel that they're building a platform here and they're one stage removed from a customer, because the platform team, there's a product team consuming the platform and then it goes to the customer. But I try to get people to not see it that way. You have to, even if you feel you're building a platform piece that is being consumed by another team before it gets to the customer, I still feel you really want to own that end-to-end touch point to the customer. Everything we build these days is shipping. I mean, back to the Conway's law thing, shipping your org structure is one way to view it, but shipping your culture is part of this too. We talk about unhealthy teams shipping unhealthy products, healthy teams shipping healthy products. So, I think that's a big difficulty, making sure that our teams feel, again, back to my principle with leadership around just making sure they're directly connected to the customer, interacting with the customer and refining that so the customer is successful. Other kind of challenges, I mean, at scale I'll stay on this topic, at scale that makes it difficult, because then we've got many different teams potentially building components that do touch the same customer. So it can get very hard to coordinate a unified view. And so what I do is